this. If we're really serious about this, let's just don't pass this to pretend that we're trying to do something, to pretend that we're working together so we can have economic growth. Let's do it from the heart. I was told one time that you can't legislate grown folks, but most certainly you cannot legislate morality. Mr. Chairman, I cannot and I will not support this.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. And just once again, this is just an effort to bring us on the same page. I'd like to read what the Code of Conduct says into the record, just to make it a part of the record prior to voting it up or down. Number one, we will represent the government and the people in a positive manner at all times. Number two, we will respect and support the action of the Commission above our own views and lay aside our differences and move forward. Number three, we will respect each other as public servants elected by the people, and we will communicate honestly with each other in a professional and a respectful manner, keeping the public interest in mind at all times. Next, we will hold confidences with each other. Followed by, we will investigate, listen, and debate prior to taking action or making decisions. We will trust each other to speak and respect each other to listen. We will be respectful of each other's time. We will be prepared to discuss issues in an open, honest, and professional manner, focusing on issues, not personalities. We will stay focused on the long-range direction of Augusta, and that's simply what it says. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think what you're asking here is reasonable in terms of having a code of conduct. But I also believe, as I look at some of these bulleted items that we have going on here, I'm of the same opinion that we may need to look at this a little closer. I'm not saying we don't need to have a code of conduct, but I think we ought to have a code of conduct that meets the need and has merit. There's a couple of things in here that catches my eye right away in terms of when we talk about the bullet item number 2, we will respect and support the action of the Commission above our own views and lay aside our differences and move forward. It's awfully difficult as being elected officials to do a job for not only the city but for your district in particular and the city altogether. It's awfully difficult for you to immediately lay down your differences because we all have differences, and differences is not a bad thing. So to lay them down and move forward, many times, especially if you're not in agreement with it, you just can't lay them down and move forward, especially if you have some legitimate reason in your own mind and or some proof as to why you shouldn't lay that down and move forward. I do have a question of you, though, initially, is I know this was done in 2006. What was the purpose of this in 2006? Why did this come up?
It was when there was a lot of tension on the Commission. It was developed out of retreat in an effort to really keep us all to the high ground in moving forward to address how we interact with each other.
And what I have to say to that is in 2012, we have the same thing 6 years later. So in order, for it to, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have one, but in order to have one, we've got to understand or realize that we've got all these bulleted items. There's several items we can sit here and talk about that have not gone on by anyone or everyone up here, so I'm not pointing out anybody in particular. So the only thing that I would say is if we're going to put a code of conduct together, I think we might need to come back together and talk about, what's working and what's not, and then what we do need to have, because I do agree we need to have a code of conduct. But if we're just going to have one just to have it, and from 2006 and 2009 there was no change, and then from 2009, 2012 there was no change, well then what makes anybody think there's going to be any change from 2012 until we look at it again? So, we're all reasonably intelligent up here, and I think if we could come together and decide on those things that are important, that we need to be looking at, that we're actually not doing and that we're committed to doing, I think we would have a better success than just passing something arbitrarily just to say we have a code of conduct. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I think in essence to what Commissioner Mason and also Commissioner Lockett said, I think it would be proper that we probably discuss this in, I don't know when we plan to do another retreat, but maybe have a discussion and probably go over some of these bullets and see exactly some of the things that we wouldn't maybe like to add and maybe take away, but I think they both make some good points. And not only that, I think it does start within. So I think it would be within our best interest to look at that together as a group and then come back and maybe adopt a new code of conduct with some changes made, and maybe we can all understand thoroughly what those changes are and exercise those as we move forward. So if we could, I would like to put it in the form of a motion to do that, but I guess we need to get a date in particular when we can, I guess, all get together and talk about this and then and adopt a new code of conduct.
Would it be appropriate for you to put in the form of a motion to schedule a retreat at which a new code of conduct will be developed?
That would be wise, yes.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second, and really, gentlemen, once again, this was trying just to bring us together. I'm fine with that, I think, and that was part of my point as well, is that there are a lot of people that are on the commission now that were not here when it was originally developed, might not have known that it existed, and weren't here when it was reapproved. So I'm perfectly fine with that, and I would support the motion. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, commissioners will now vote by the usual sign of voting.
AnibalShow.com